This animated installment of the Transformer movies opens with a Transformer called Orion Pax, who is seen sneaking himself inside a library, where he finds a disc and decides to insert it into a machine, initiating a holographic video that begins to explain the origin of how the Transformers came into existence. This all began with the creator of the Transformers called Primus, whose purpose was to protect the universe. He sacrificed his life for them by transforming himself into a planet called Cybertron. Inside Cybertron, Primus gave birth to the first Transformers known as the Primes. He also created the Matrix of Leadership. Just then, Orion is detected by security drones as they find him in the library and alert Darkwing and his brother. Orion knows he is in trouble and pretends like he is lost and asks the brothers for the exit, but they don't fall for his tricks. So Orion proposes a game where he runs and they catch him. Knowing he can't transform, they agree and laugh as he skids and topples over things. Soon they decide that's enough, and the brothers transform into jets and begin to chase him. Orion runs and finds a dead end and jumps out of the window. As he is falling, he tries to turn on a jetpack that allows him to land slowly to the ground. Just as the Transformers catch him, Orion's best friend called D comes to his rescue. He distracts the brothers, which gives Orion the chance to hide himself. After they leave, D argues with Orion for risking his life in such a manner to retrieve ancient data is not worth it, even if it may help him find the Matrix of Leadership. Meanwhile, D informs him that Sentinel Prime is already outside their planet searching for it and reminds Orion that they are just miners, and it's not their job to save the universe. So to thank D, Orion gives him a Megatron Prime sticker he found in the library and promise to have each other's backs as they fist bump. The scene then shifts to the two friends showing up to work with Alita, the captain of the mining expedition. We then find out that due to the perfection in her mining record, she will soon be promoted to supervisor. But something unfortunate begins as the tunnel's core starts to crack and explodes. Alita gives the bots orders to evacuate out of the tunnel immediately, but Orion and D go back in to help an Autobot called Jax who gets trapped in a rock. They disobey Alita's orders and use a jetpack to free him from under the rock. Just then their superior Darkwing shows up and tells Alita that she's fired for not following the protocols. This prompts Orion and D to boldly confront Darkwing for his poor judgment, but they end up getting a brutal punch in the face. However, their sad moments turn to joy when they hear an announcement informing all bots to stand by for a live transmission because their ruler, Sentinel Prime, is now back. During this live transmission, Sentinel Prime appears in holographic form to thank all the miners for their hard work, which has greatly helped the planet. He further informs that after searching day and night, he was unable to find the Matrix of Leadership, but promises not to give up, and to cheer them up, announces that there will be no work tomorrow as they are arranging a big racing tournament. Later that night, Orion wakes D from his sleep and suggests they both participate in the race tomorrow. They don't even have to win the race, but if they can at least beat just one Transformer, not only will they be known as the mighty bots that did the impossible in history, but they will also show everyone that they are capable of much more. But D doesn't believe they can win because they are just mining bots who can't transform. So, just as the race is about to begin, Orion sneaks D to the highest floor of a building where they can have a better view of the race. Just then, their beloved leader, Sentinel Prime, shows up right before the race to honor the Prime Transformers who gave their lives to protect the planet. Soon the bots transform and the race starts, and out of nowhere, using a jetpack, Orion carries D in his arms and joins the race and surprise everyone. Prime and Alita look at the big screen to check if they are seeing right. The other bots are thrilled to see this and cheer for them, as it's the first time in history for miners to join the race. They are seen to be doing really well, but just as the fuel for their jetpack runs out, Orion and D decide to improvise by launching themselves with a force that propels them to third place. As they approach the finish line, Darkwing knocks them out, and they end up in last position. Orion and D get arrested for joining the race, leaving D to blame Orion for making him join against his will. Though he enjoyed it and felt different, he worries they'll be punished and demoted. Fortunately for them, Sentinel Prime meets Orion and D, telling them that what they did today is the craziest thing he's ever seen. To their surprise, Sentinel is genuinely impressed that they joined the race and even inspired his racers to work harder. Sentinel then decides to prepare for his next trip to the surface to continue his search for the Matrix of Leadership. Before that, he reveals he has a job for both of them. He commands Darkwing to escort them to his personal service facility to assign them a better job. They are taken to Sentinel Prime's personal facility, where no one can hear from them or see them. They meet a bot named Bumblebee, who is surprised to see another bot, as he's been working here alone for hundreds of years. Bumblebee explains their job to Orion and Dee. Every piece of trash thrown on the planet comes to this place, so their task is to check for anything useful in the trash before burning it down. They also see a map showing the location of the Matrix of Leadership. Orion views this as a clue to find the Matrix of Leadership and wants to go to the surface, but Dee is against the idea because it's extremely dangerous. However, not wanting to stay his whole life in this facility, he changes his mind. They ask Bumblebee if there's any way to reach the surface, and he says there is. They escape the facility through a garbage chute, and Bumblebee sneaks them onto the only train on the planet that can take them directly to the surface. They find Alita, who has been forced to work on the train. Alita attacks them and attempts to notify Darkwing about their escape, but the fight stops as the train reaches the surface. They are amazed by the magnificence of the surface. Orion then shows Alita he has a map that might lead them to the Matrix of Leadership. Unfortunately, they soon realize the surface of Cybertron is alive and is actively defending itself from the train carrying Energon to its destination. The ground rises, causing the train to derail and the bots to be thrown from it. As they regain consciousness, Alita seizes the map from Orion and decides to lead the group on the expedition, warning him that if the map doesn't lead to the Matrix of Leadership, she'll drag him back to Cybertron herself if she has to. On their way, they encounter hundreds of bot deer. Suddenly, the deer begin to flee, causing Orion and his friends to hide, sensing danger. As they hide, a gigantic quintessence ship passes overhead. Once the ship is gone, they continue following the map, which leads them to a cave with teeth-like formations. Inside the cave, they find the corpses of primes who died in battle and realize the primes were ambushed during the fight. Orion notices Alpha Trion is still alive and revives him by placing Energon in his mouth. Alpha Trion reveals a shocking truth. Sentinel is not actually a prime, and they've all been deceived. He explains that thousands of years ago, during the brutal war with the Quintessence, Sentinel was merely a servant who grew envious of the primes. Alpha then shows what had happened. Sentinel claimed to have critical information to defeat the Quintessence and asked the primes to meet him at a specific location. However, he secretly alerted the Quintessence, who ambushed the primes at that spot, killing them. Sentinel's betrayal wasn't just out of jealousy. He also desired the Matrix of Leadership for himself. After a long conversation, Orion and his friends are heartbroken to learn that the leader they idolized is actually allied with the Quintessence. They discover that Sentinel has been forcing the bots to mine Energon, which he secretly supplies to the Quintessence to secure his safety, gain power, and maintain good relations with them. Alpha Trion explains that every bot was originally born with a transformer core. However, Sentinel removed these cores before bringing them online, which is why none of them possessed the ability to transform. However, Alpha Trion concludes that what defines a transformer is not the core in their chest, but the spark that resides within. He immediately removes the cores from all the deceased prime transformers and gives them to Orion and his friends, enabling them to access their full potential. Now, he empowers them to change their world, leaving the choice of how to use this power up to them. After a while, the Quintessence find them. Alpha Trion hands them a video recording that serves as proof of Sentinel's treachery. He urges them to rush back to Cybertron to warn everyone. Alpha Trion decides to stay behind to hold off the Quintessence, giving them enough time to escape. He transforms into a wolf-like bot to confront them. However, as Orion and his friends attempt to flee, they try to transform, given their new cores. Yet, no matter how hard they try, they cannot do it. Just as they are cornered by the Quintessence, who try to kill them, they unconsciously transform into various vehicles, helping them evade their pursuers. Sentinel captures Alpha Trion and asks him about the bots who were with him. Alpha, unafraid, declares that these are the bots that will end his rule as he puts a sword through Alpha, killing him. As the group journeys back to Cybertron, he expresses his determination to never place his fate in any leader again and vows to kill Sentinel. On their way, they are electrocuted and taken to a basement. They are surrounded by hundreds of bots, led by a transformer named Starscream. Starscream reveals to Orion and his friends that they are former high guards of Cybertron who witnessed Sentinel's betrayal. Since that day, they have been fighting from the shadows. Starscream states that to defeat Sentinel, they must appoint him as the new leader, but D is fed up with the idea of any leader. As he decides to leave, Starscream becomes furious, viewing D's action as a massive disrespect. Starscream and D engage in a fight. D defeats him, surprising everyone when he reveals a weapon from his body. Orion reminds D that Starscream is not the enemy. Sentinel is. D tells the High Guards to bear witness, declaring this will be the last time he shows mercy. He offers them a choice, to stay with their pathetic leader or follow him and take down Sentinel. Orion is shocked to see how much his best friend has changed. During their discussion, Sentinel's troops arrive at their hideout and begin attacking everyone. As it is, they are outnumbered and half of them, including Starscream and D, get captured by them. But Orion and Alita are free and manage to put up a fight to some extent and then hide. Alita encourages Orion not to give up, prompting him to decide to create an army with the surviving old guards. His first plan is to rescue D and Bumblebee from Sentinel's prison through a surprise attack. We see D and Bumblebee, where Sentinel reveals that he was the one who killed Megatron Prime and took his core, which made him powerful. He plans to take them to Cybertron and falsely accuse them of being traitors before killing them. Orion returns to Cybertron and sneaks into the mine to recruit his fellow miners as soldiers. He tells them the truth about everything and how Sentinel has deceived them their entire lives. The miners are inspired by Orion's speech and begin chanting his name. Back to Sentinel, just as he is about to kill D, who refuses to stay down, Alita and the old guard arrive to attack him. Orion also appears with the miners, joining the fight. He frees D and reveals that he knows how to stop Sentinel, but D insists on handling it his own way. The battle begins, and Orion and D confront Sentinel. Sentinel pins D to the ground and starts to gloat about his evil deeds. What he doesn't realize is that Orion has taken the opportunity to broadcast his words to every bot on the planet. As Sentinel gets distracted, D attacks him from behind. D attempts to kill Sentinel with his weapon, but Orion intervenes. Orion tells him that they have already won the battle since everyone now knows how evil Sentinel is, and rebuilding a new nation shouldn't begin with an execution. However, D lets his anger and pain overwhelm him. He shoves Orion aside and fires his gun as Orion, trying to stop him, ends up taking the bullet. D catches him just as he is about to fall off a cliff, but suddenly he changes his mind. Orion tells him don't do it, but his eyes turn red, and he leaves Orion's hand, causing him to fall off the cliff. D seizes Sentinel and tears his body apart. He extracts the core of Megatron Prime from Sentinel and tells all the High Guards to follow him. Meanwhile, Orion falls into a realm where he encounters the ghost of the Primes, who tells him that his noble sacrifice for the greater good has proven his worthiness in the eyes of Primus. As a result, they decide to give him the Matrix of Leadership. On the other hand, D inserts the Megatron Prime core into his chest and transforms into Megatron. Just as Megatron tries to eliminate the bots opposed to his rule, Optimus Prime arrives, and a battle erupts between them. This turns into a long and epic fight. Megatron initially gains the upper hand, but then Optimus reveals an axe-like weapon and defeats him. Optimus chooses to spare Megatron's life, but banishes him and the High Guards from the city. Megatron leaves, warning Prime that it is not over yet. Optimus Prime appoints Bumblebee and Alita as his commanders, leaving the best for the last. Energon returns to Cybertron, entering the chests of all the miners, evolving them into Transformers. As the movie comes to an end, Prime warns Quintessence that the Autobots are ready and waiting. That's the end of the video. As you would agree, it takes a lot of time and effort to produce this kind of content. So if you enjoyed it, please consider dropping a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel. It'll only take a second of your time, but will help us a lot and motivate us to create more content like this. Don't forget to click the bell icon to stay updated on our next video. Thanks.